Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today is Conversations with Carnivores, and I am here speaking with Ryan. He's going to share with us about his journey. And welcome to the channel, Ryan.
Hey, thanks very much. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Now, my first question is, how long have you been carnivore?
Wow. So probably on and off now. I've probably been carnivore for about 2.5, 3 years.
Yep. So I'm curious then, like my next question generally is, what led you to carnivore? Because it's not your everyday sort of diet. There's usually something that leads people to it. What was your thing?
Yeah. So originally, if it was me, it was I've been nursing a heap of injuries when I was in the army. I did my shoulder, my wrist. Oh, sorry about that. I did my shoulder, my wrist. I had a couple of surgeries and things like that, and I was just struggling to lose weight. Things that are normally easy for me to get back into shape again were just becoming difficult, and it's not the same as like when you're in high school. You're training and you're trying to get your diet right, and it was, I'm counting calories every day, and it's just really hard to stay disciplined when you spend so much time focused on food. Originally, I started off fasting was the first thing I delved into that started me on the journey that ended in carnivore. I started following Dr. Jason Fung, and another guy. He's quite funny, actually. Cole Robinson from, I don't know if you've heard of Cole. He's on YouTube.
I haven't.
Yeah,
I haven't.
Yeah, he's a Canadian guy. So he's the inventor of the snake juice diet. Have you heard of that?
I've heard of it, but I've not investigated it yet.
Yeah. So basically, he just like does huge amounts of fasting and electrolyte replenishment. So I started following him, and I started doing intermittent fasting, and I had really great results from that. And so I just started, and then it sort of evolved. I started doing fasting regularly. I was doing it all the time. And then I was sort of yo-yoing a fair bit with fasting. So I would fast, I'd do like intermittent fasting. And then like what would happen was I'd stop fasting and the weight would come back. And it was just frustrating. Like it wasn't crazy amounts of weight. Like I wasn't like, like a crazy heavy person, but I'm super short and super stocky. So the moment I put on like, say 8 kilos, I look like a completely different guy. So I just was sort of going to and fro with fasting. And then I thought, I watched Forks Over Knives. So that plant-based thing. And I was like, oh, so I went through that trap as well, which I know a lot of carnivores have already been in. I did vegetarian for probably about 7-8 months, which wasn't too bad. I actually had pretty good results in vegetarian. I found it really easy to stay lean and stay less heavy. But it really wasn't complementing my training. I was struggling to recover. Like I'd go to the gym and I'd be sore for like 2-3 days, and it just wasn't working out for me. But I just kept cracking on anyway, because I was trying to save the planet and save the animals and that sort of stuff. Then I pushed over to veganism. I did that for probably about 2 months, I think, probably 2 months. And that's when I really started to wither. I started losing like crazy amount of muscle mass, and it just started to wither away. Then one day I listened to heaps of podcasts. So I was watching Joe Rogan, and that's where I saw Sean Baker on there. So Sean and Jordan Peterson were like two guys I follow. So I followed Jordan Peterson pretty religiously. And then I saw Michaela talk. And then obviously through Michaela, I found Sean Baker, and then found out he was going on Joe Rogan, listened to him. And then from there, I just started delving into all the podcasts. I started off pretty easily. Like I have really good discipline when it comes to trying something new. I've done 7-day fasts. I do them, probably once or twice a year. I've done 7-day water fast. So for me, if I want to do something new, I tend to just jump in head first and see how it goes. So I started carnivore. I didn't really get keto flu like some people get. I had a bit of a headache, like in probably 24 hours in or 48 hours in. No, it was probably 48 hours in, but like I was used to having a high fat, high protein diet anyway. I was sort of eating that way at the time when I first started transferring over. But within like, I would say 2 weeks, I noticed a huge difference in inflammation levels. That was probably the biggest one I noticed. Like I get really severe GERD and heartburn. I've had it for probably 10 years. So
Yep.
if my diet's pretty much not perfect, I get heartburn. So like when I was following vegetarian and veganism, I hardly ever got it. But as soon as I slip back into like any sort of sad diet foods, like that night I will have heartburn. That's how sensitive my stomach is to those kinds of foods. So first thing I noticed was inflammation dropped, no heartburn. So like every time I go off carnivore, I've probably gone on and off it 20 times in 4 years. Now, whenever I go off it, I just feel like absolute shit. It just is a real pain in the bum. So I normally last a week or two and then I'm straight back on it again anyway. So social events and stuff sometimes can be quite difficult.
Yeah.
And then also like trying to get it sometimes can be quite difficult too. Like I used to sometimes go into like McDonald's and just order beef patties and stuff like that. But even then it can get quite bland. So I always make sure I've got like a really good variety of different meats on hand and different cuts. So I'm always keeping it adventurous and it's always something new and exciting. Yeah. So yeah, no, carnivore, three or so years, closer to 4, heaps of relapses like I guess most people would probably have, but they don't care to admit. So 3 years, that was my journey.
Yeah.
Really.
Awesome. So one of the things that I talk about with my clients is that this is about a journey versus a destination that you have to get to. And so everything is a learning experience in those senses of like the falling off the wagon or stumbling off for a little bit and then getting back on. We all have to go through some of that type of stuff to learn stuff, like to learn, oh, here's where I didn't prepare myself. Here's something I didn't think about. Here's something new that I have to approach, like social situations. So you mentioned social situations for you. How have you found carnivore has kind of impacted or changed or altered some of those social interactions for you? Where are the big challenges?
See, I don't really get when I talk about carnivore diet. So like, let's say social and people first. When it comes to the carnivore diet, I don't really get many people, like you hear the stories about, people getting told, you can't eat like that or you're going to die. Like not many people say that to me. Everyone knows I'm pretty cluey when it comes to nutrition. So, and the proof is in the pudding, like when you're strong in the gym, you're vibrant and things like that. It's one of those things, like someone can tell you you're doing it wrong, but most of the time people telling you to do it wrong are the ones who are fat slobs who eat like shit. So, when someone who's overweight or when someone who looks like absolute shit is telling me I'm going to die, because of my cholesterol and things like that, it doesn't bother me. It's okay. But the socially, it's more like if you want to go out for dinner or something like that. At first it was hard because you're thinking about it too much. Whereas now it's easy. Like if I'm going to go meet out the guys for a beer at the tavern or whatever, it'll just be, I'll order a steak and just have no chips or salad.
Yep.
And like every now and then, if I feel like it, I'll be like, I'll chuck a couple of veggies on there, like a bit of zucchini or something like that. Stuff I know doesn't upset me, like cucumbers, like things like that. They really don't have any like negative bearing on me. I don't feel like, if I have a little side serving in them, it's going to hurt. And also like a lot of my mates love meat anyway. Like I've got no vegetarian mates. They all love eating meat. So, my favorite restaurant in Brisbane, it's a Brazilian restaurant. It's all you can eat meat for like $60. It's delicious. I had my birthday there last year and all my mates came along and we just ate meat and, so I don't find that too difficult. When I'm camping, sometimes it can be difficult. So I might be going camping, but now that I've got a fridge freezer, it's not as hard anymore. Yeah.
Yeah. I basically live camping, but we do have our own fridge freezer. So that kind of, we stock that as much as we can when we are able to. So I'm curious then, because like you did this whole little bit where you went vegan, sort of vegetarian and then into vegan. Like, did your friendship group change then? Or did your friends go, what are you doing? Like,
see, I'm military. So I was military for 17 years. So like people will comment, but generally speaking, like everyone kind of sort of leaves me alone, because at the time I'm always armed with the information to argue the point, I guess. So, and it's personal choice. It's like anything in life. Like anytime anyone butts against me on it, I just say, well, it doesn't affect you. It's personal choice. And then normally most people go, yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. So I'm curious, was there, because I know you had that period of time of being vegetarian, moving into vegan, and then you kind of watched Joe Rogan and Jordan Peterson and so on. Like, what were the shifts that took place in your mind during that process?
It was trying to figure out, I guess, why I guess I was trying to figure out, why are we being told that one thing's meant to be the right thing, and why am I now being told that this other thing on the other side is the right thing, you know? And like anything, like anyone processing information, especially new information, you know, you got to sit and think on it. And the best thing about it was the anecdotal studies. That was, for me, that was really a positive in helping me change over. So when I started going and following more carnivore pages and podcasts, especially like Sean Baker's Rivero podcast, and just hearing people's stories and things like that. Like I get these like benign tumors on my body. I get them like under my skin, and like they tend to shrink when I'm strict carnivore, you know? So I manage those, like they come and go. GERD, heartburn. I have PTSD from my time overseas. So, you know, I'm constantly struggling mentally. And I find that when I am, you know, when I'm having a high fat carnivore diet, my symptoms are definitely, they're lower. I don't suffer as much depression. You know, my anxiety is still pretty prevalent, and, you know, other things like my nightmares don't really get to stop. But generally speaking, my general day to day, it feels better. So the proof is in your own results, you know, and you hear other people curing skin problems. You know, some people are reversing tumors. Paleo Medicina, I don't know if you've heard of them.
No.
So Paleo Medicina are a clinic, I think they're in Netherlands. There's a doctor, she's on quite a few podcasts. I know she's been on Sean's. I'm pretty sure she's been on Joe Rogan as well. But they have it used to be called Paleo Medicina. I can't remember what it's called now, but they're curing cancers on people with high fat carnivore diets. They call it PKD, paleo ketogenic diet, basically starving tumors of glucose. Now, last time I heard, there was some cancers obviously that they weren't reversing, but there was other cancers and things like that that they were getting really mind-blowing results on, you know? So like, I guess like if this is this direction.
What I use with my oncology patients, that's what I use with my oncology patients, is like strict carnivore and getting them into a GKI score of below that 3, as close to a 0 as we can. To starve out those cancers. And the ones, for those that are at home listening, the ones that don't, that need a little bit more rejigging are things that are hormonal based. And it's usually like your female breast cancers. There's about 20 to 10% of them that are hormonal based, and they feed off protein. And so then we've got to do some protein sparing type of fasting, as well as like just going strict carnivore. But it's all playing around with what's actually going on. But I love hearing stories like that as well, because that's what I see in my clinic. It's what I see with patients that I work with. So you were listening to them and that anecdotal type of stuff. Like, I'd love there to be more research-based stuff for us to be able to draw on, but it's just not there yet.
Yeah, well, I think if you go on the Rivero page, Sean Baker, he has a page with a link to a heap of studies and stuff like that. But when you know, even then, like even when I was learning about the carnivore diet, you can go out there and find so many studies that are saying that meat's negatively impacting our lives, causing cancer, causing all these problems. And when you look at the studies themselves, it's always correlation, not causation.
Well, some of them just blow my mind. Like, I don't know if you've read any of the meat-based ones, but like they'll say that red meat causes cancer, but the meat that they tested was hot dogs.
Yeah,
and most, that's not what I class as red meat.
And when they're doing like their questionnaires for most dietetic institutes and things like that, people filling out the questionnaires and the meat in their diet, pepperoni on pizza is to them, meat causes cancer. So, if that's the epidemiological science that they want to base their facts on, then let them have it. If people, you watching the carnivore community grow is a perfect example of people starting to figure things out for themselves.
Yeah. Well, another one of those studies was it was meat, but steak and chops and those types of things. But just about every meal that the person had that with also had potatoes in it and bread. And I'm like,
exactly.
So the meat is the problem, but the potatoes and the bread like get a free pass.
Well, it always comes back to that same thing. If anyone ever like really puts a hard argument on back onto me, I just say, well, you look at our ancestral diet, things that we ate leading up to now, and it was just meat, tiny amounts of fruit and vegetables, but our calories mostly came from meat. That's, the history of human beings. Now it's only the last few hundred years where we've started to add all this agriculture and all these chemicals and the food pyramid, and people are obese, they're sick. Like there's the proof there. If you can't look at that and think something might be wrong, well, maybe you deserve to stay where you are.
I'm curious because one of the things you mentioned there was like you had to ask the questions, why do they want to teach us these things? I'm curious, did you come to any conclusions?
Yeah, I think it's the pharmaceutical industry, really. I think it comes from the fact that the food industry and the pharmaceutical industry, they're far too close to each other, and it creates a huge conflict of interest. When there's money to be made, people will lie, cheat, and steal. It's just the way it is. It's the way of humans. It's the way of greed. If people want to make money, and unfortunately, we live in I guess it's mainly Western culture at the moment. But like I look around me, and it's not just food as well, but it's all correlated to each other. Whether it be pharmaceuticals and food. You go in and there was that one where they said that Cheerios are more healthy than steak. Look, and some people out there will see that and they'll think, well, I'll stop eating red meat and starting in Cheerios. Now, how stupid do you have to be to believe that?
I'm with you. Like, seriously.
Come
on.
You just can't look at that you can't look at that through any lens where someone could tell me that that's the case. Even when I was vegan, if someone came to me and said, hey, Randy, what's healthier? Is it going to be like processed junk food, or is it going to be, steak and chops? And I would have picked steak and chops. Just, I know that the junk food is junk, and that I knew that meat had its benefits. I just made the choice to lower it down based on other reasons. So at the end of the day, like if people want to believe that stuff, then it's gonna they're gonna come to realizations later in life when that when they start to get to that age, they start suffering, joint pain, arthritic pain, cognitive dysfunction, things like that. That's mostly related to poor nutrition, so if people aren't eating diets that are rich in micronutrients and vitamins and minerals, they're going to suffer, and they're not going to have quality of life.
Yeah. And I 100% agree with you there. Like, I think about it from the point of view of like, how can you build or keep something strong? Like, even if you think about it from a housing perspective, if you've got a house and you don't look after it, the house is going to break down and fall down. If you don't repair it and do the things that it needs, it's going to fall down. You can't build a house without the building blocks of actually building that house. And our bodies are no different. We need building blocks to do that. We need consistent repair to maintain what we've actually got. So for me, that's where carnivore and high nutrition comes in. Nutritional density foods come in to actually do that repair. I'm curious because like you started this conversation with saying that, you had a lot of injuries from your time in the army. How are they now?
Yeah, they're not too bad. Considering like the severity of them, like one of them was a pretty major shoulder reconstruction, but I can still jump up and do pull-ups and do CrossFit. And same, I've got a scaphoid surgery on my left wrist. I can still do push-ups, burpees. You know, I can still swing on branches with my kids. So, I'm quite strong. I just had a DEXA scan done not long ago, and I'm really high muscle mass. So, like, like having, and people say that's an indicator for longevity is muscle mass. So, I turned 40 at the end of the year, and I'm still going in the gym, squatting nearly 200 kilos, and, putting big numbers, but still able to do a decent amount of cardio. So, at 40 years old, like my dad's and his mates, they all had beer guts, and, at 40, when they started to hit their 40s, they were struggling. They couldn't chase me around and climb trees with me, but I can do that with my daughters. So I guess that's the proof is in the pudding, isn't it?
Yeah. I always think it's really interesting when I have a client that comes in and they start to tell me like that they're in their 40s or early 40s, and they're like, oh, I guess it must just be because I'm getting old. I'm like, theoretically, you're not even halfway there yet. So this ain't old.
Exactly. Have you seen Mason Survival?
No.
Oh, go on Mason Survival Instagram. I think he's close to Sean's age. And the guy is a machine. Like, the guy does not look his age. And like, he's got a fantastic physique, strong, posts a lot of videos, but worth having a look at. But like, that guy is an example of like what 50-year-old men should look like. These guys, Sean and these guys, that's what a 55-year-old man should look like. We shouldn't be in hospital, and like, it's not 55 isn't the age that we should be beginning to wither, we should be taking it right back, drinking raw milk, going back to our roots. Like, look at Liver King, look what he eats. Like, I know he cops a lot of shit because he's an unusual guy, but like, you can't fault the guy's approach, the guy is in great shape, whether he's on the gear or not. Like, just look what he's doing. He's not a young guy, and he's out there running around with chains, pulling stuff, pushing stuff. Like, he's insane. But his diet promotes it. He eats like a caveman, essentially,
Yeah. I'm curious because you've mentioned Jordan Peterson, and I am a big fan of Jordan Peterson as well. I love his bravado and his articulation. Like, I really love how he's able to articulate his ideas in a really, I think, quite sensitive but also truthful way. Like, sometimes the truth ain't nice, but I think he does it in a really good way. And I am pondering, not necessarily fact, I'm just pondering whether there is this correlation between people having logical thinking as well as being able to step into this space of feeding and nourishing their brain with high nutrient foods. And I'm wondering if you've thought in any of those things as well, because I see it quite a lot in, say, the carnivore world, where they're actually more seeing the patterns behind the agendas of the social sort of warfare that's going on right now.
Yeah. Look, I think it comes hand in hand in some ways. Especially when the narrative now is, meat's destroying the planet, cows are destroying the planet, we have to live on social credit systems, like all the things that I guess the conspiracy theory people talk about, they're sort of coming true bit by bit. For me, it was just a personal journey, and then just looking at what people are doing around me was what was fueling my desire to move in that direction. Like listening to Jordan, like, some people call him like a far right extremist. He's a centrist. It's just the narrative. It's the way it's driven. It's just nonsense. I've seen things like, people call me right wing all the time because I'm old school, because I think that, we should be living in our old ways, like, I've got a bit of acreage that I'm building with my partner at the moment, and I've got kids to a previous relationship, and we want to start a family, but we want to go back to the roots where the man does man shit and she does the woman shit, where I'm out there chopping down wood and hunting and doing, what I want to get out there and do. Well, she stays home with the kids and teaches them all the things and all the morals and the way that we want to raise them, based on us. I don't want my kids to be raised by society's idea of what's right and wrong. I want to go off what my idea of right and wrong is, and it's like anything. It's like LGBTQI. My brother's a homosexual and he never spouts a word about this stuff, but it gets jammed down our throat day after day after day. It's just so constant. It's everywhere you look. People don't care, it's that thing of like, our society is just throwing all this information and telling us that we have to be like this and we have to think and feel a certain way. People don't want to do that. People just want to get on with their lives. They want to make enough money to put a roof over their head, feed their kids, stay strong, stay fit, stay happy, and a good diet. You're happier when you're eating clean. You're happier when you're spending time with the people you love, doing the things you love. So if that makes me far right, well, bloody hell, make me far right every day.
I'm with you there on so many of those things. And, I too have, plenty of gay and lesbian friends as well. And they never really go down this pathway at all of what this trans movement is actually pushing in schools and on our children and so on. Like, it's not even part of their vibe. Like,
No,
many of them are actually
really
against it as well. And don't actually want the extra letters added to their community.
You hit the nail on the head.
It doesn't represent them.
Well, it's hand in hand with climate change too. All it is division. It's to keep everyone divided. It's same as climate change. People telling you that the world's going to burn and blow up. Like, they say it every 10 years. There's always I remember being a little kid, and I remember being a little kid watching TV in the late 80s, and it's like the hole in the ozone layer is going to open up and we're all going to burn by 2020 or 2000. No, 2000. It was 2000. If we keep doing what we're doing, we're going to burn. It's like they said we're going to die in the 60s. No, we didn't die. We're not dying. It's bullshit. If we're going to die, people wouldn't be buying beachfront properties. We wouldn't be flying their private jets. If it was that dire, we wouldn't be doing it. So, and they want to tell me that harvesting avocados with chemicals is the way to fix the planet while regenerative agriculture is killing us. That's insanity. If people don't have the ability to critically think that one out, they deserve to be where they are,
Well, the thing that I think is my frustration in a lot of this, because I work a lot with organic farmers and farmers that are really passionate about regenerating the soil. They look after their animals probably better than, they would even their own health in regards to making sure their animals get, the best of what they can possibly get. Because not only if their animals have got really good stuff, the poop that comes out of that animals is really good stuff, and it helps to regenerate their soil.
That's
and
right.
Actually over the years really improves it. And so my frustration is that they're teaching this stuff to kids. So children who don't yet have the ability to critically think get it shoved down their throats and get taught it as fact, when actually majority of this is based on lies. Like, even just from the climate change perspective, that cows are killing the environment, when actually, if you have cows that are on pasture, they are keeping the grass to a short perspective where it actually draws carbon down into the soil and reduces the carbon that's in the atmosphere. So cows are actually saving us, not killing us.
We are literally carbon-based life forms.
Exactly. And if you look at the percentage, like, what is it, cow farts are like 5% of the carbon, but aeroplanes that are run in private jets is like, a massive amount of it. Like, it just doesn't even make logical sense.
No, it doesn't. And look, anyone who still has the ability to think knows that. And you know what, it's really good because things like Joe Rogan, things like Dr. Baker, and the community itself is a growing community. And people ask me questions all the time. Like, I literally had a conversation with some guys I was playing video games with the other night, and they were just talking to me, and I'm like, yeah, jump on my Instagram, have a look. And even one dude started following me and said, hey man, can you help me out? I want to give it a go. You look pretty jacked. He was a skinny guy who plays a lot of video games. He's like, I want to get jacked too. And I'm like, man, shoot me a message. I'll shoot you through. So the basics you need to look into, go get a blood panel done. Just start light exercise. Most guys, if jump on Carnivore, I speak for guys because, girls don't generally ask me too much which is fair because I don't know much about girl hormone stuff. But when it comes to guys, if you eat carnivore and you train like 3 sessions a week, you will gain muscle, you will lose fat, and you will look good. It's just there's no science behind. Well, I guess there is an underlying science, but there's no confusion to it. There's no weighing every meal, checking calories. I know I've overeaten because I feel like shit. I'll eat a steak, like I'll eat like a big, say 500-gram steak. And when I start to get to the end of the steak, I'm struggling to finish it. It means I'm full. Yeah. I know I'm full. But you got me a family Macca's pack, I'll eat that whole thing and still feel hungry afterwards because I'm not getting satiety from it. Whereas when you're eating a carnivore, a meat-based or carnivore diet, you're getting satiated because you're eating and then your body's like, oh, I can't eat anymore. There's your indicator,
Yeah. I think about it from the terms of I don't need anymore. So, for example, if you're eating a steak, you take in and you get all of these beautiful amino acids, all of these fats, all of these vitamins and minerals. Once your body has got what it needs, it's like, I'm done. It's okay, we can stop now. But if you eat that Macca's thing, you've still got to get your vitamins and your minerals and your fats and all of that because you're missing most of it because it's basically hollow garbage.
That's it.
And so
100%.
You still feel hungry, even though you might have eaten the exact same number of calories, you still feel hungry because you're not getting the nutrition that you actually need to feel satisfied and satiated.
Oh, it's crazy. And like people don't even realize as well, the carnivore diet is super simple. Like, I've done paleo as well. Actually, paleo I did on and off many times. Paleo diet I love paleo. I'd still like paleo diet. But it's work. It's preparing vegetables. It's preparing salads. It's going in the kitchen and making fancy desserts that are made from natural stuff. It's effort. Like you tell someone to get on the carnivore diet, it's like, well, what do I do? It's like, well, dude, you go to the butcher, you buy a heap of different cuts of meat, you put salt on it, you eat it, you drink water, and you'll get jacked. And then it's like, well, what else? That's it, mate. If you want to throw in some organs, it's up to you. I eat liver. I actually don't mind liver. I eat it raw. So I just chop it up and freeze it and I just eat it raw. I love it. Beef jerky I use as a snack. But, like for me, I spent 2.5 Australian thousand. I bought half a cow about, it would have been maybe a month and a half ago, maybe 6 weeks ago. I've just got a freezer full of cow. Like I made a roast last night and that'll last me 3 or 4 days. Just chopping that up into pieces and snacking on that, chops, steaks, like you get yourself a barbecue and a smoker. It's so simple. You just walk out, cook the meat, eat the meat, done. There's nothing else. There's nothing to it. It's easy.
I love that because like for me, that is part of the reason that I chose carnivore. Well, part of the big reason that I chose carnivore because like I could have gone down the keto pathway, but I was like, I just can't be bothered counting carbohydrates and like thinking about these things, as well as for me, fruits and vegetables are a bit of a gateway drug in that, just a little bit leads me to a little bit more and a little bit more. So for me, carnivore was like, I don't have to count anything. I really love steak, and I can just cook that. And I've got one frying pan that I have to wash up instead of like 4 different pots because I've got vegetables in each different thing and I've done this and I've done that. And so much easier. And especially traveling on the road, I just rock up to like the local council barbecue, chuck my meat on the barbecue and I'm done. Like,
yeah,
I don't have to do a whole lot more.
It's how you want to be. I'm the same. As soon as I eat something, bad, I've really got to get my ass back into gear to get back to carnivore. My body, like piece of fruit, piece of cake for a birthday. As soon as I eat that, my body is just like, it becomes like a beast. It's like, give me more whatever's around me. I'll just start consuming it. I'll go into a fridge and just eat like everything that's got glucose in it. It's bad.
Oh my gosh.
Like, I don't know why. It's like anything in life. I guess some people have certain predispositions. Mine is like, as soon as I slip hard. And I've got to really battle to get it out. So normally, like if I slip and I go like a couple of weeks and I'm off carnivore, it takes like I'll do like a 48-hour fast and be like, dude, you need to do a fast. And I'll just do like a 48-hour fast. Once I've had like that, once that feeling's gone after like, 24 to 48 hours, I just eat my first carnivore meal again. And I'm just cruising again. It's like, and I feel good. I feel like I'm in control,
Yeah.
I've
got to love the male hormone. Some of us females are like, this is so much harder for men. And I work with male and female patients, and I'm like, guys, just do this, it'll be fine, it'll all work out. Women, there's a little bit more like balancing female hormones and stuff that goes into it.
Yeah.
But for me, my strategy, if I've eaten something like Christmas was my thing, I was like, I'm going to be carnivore and then I'll have some pavlova because that's like my thing of like, I don't want to miss out on Christmas Day. And so I had the pavlova and it was like the kick in the ass of going, it takes 14 fucking days for me to get back on track after this. And I'm living in a camp kitchen where everybody's got all of their chocolate and all of their stuff like in this camp kitchen that we were sharing with them. And like I'm rocking in the corner. Like,
it's freaking impossible. We're human beings, you know, like and then that shit tastes good. You know, like
it does. That's why people are attracted to it.
I'm under no illusion that like there's some days I wake up and I'm like been strict carnivore and I haven't like eaten anything but carnivore for months, and I'll just look at I'll just think of like a grilled cheese sandwich, you know, something so simple and oh, it's so good, you know, like. Or like, but I guess the crazy thing is, I don't know if you know this though. I don't know about many other carnivores, but for me, if I'm eating paleo or like strict plant-based or anything where I'm eating natural foods, like whether it's from the ground, whether it's from an animal or from the ground, and I eat processed food, it tastes like shit. Like I remember once I was paleo for probably like a year and a half strict. Like I did not move off it. And I had my first McDonald's. It was the first thing I ate after like a year and a half of just strict clean food. And it tasted like I was eating dish soap. So, you know, if being strict for that time does that, it means you're on the right track, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that your taste buds change as well. Like I remember when I first started carnivore, so I'm almost 11 months in. And when I first started, there was no way on heck I was eating hamburgers that didn't have like flavorings and onions and stuff in it. Whereas now, like I can't think of anything better than like, you know, mincemeat that's just basically squished together and then I put salt and butter on top and I'm good. I like really like that way more than, you know, the seasonings and all the crap that I used to put in it to make it flavorful because the taste buds really changed. Did you find that for you?
Yeah, kind of, but I do use seasoning still. So like
I still do too, but I don't need them like I did at the start.
Well, it depends what I'm eating, really. Like if I'm eating steaks, I just like salt. If I'm eating lamb chops, salt. Anything where I'm grilling it on the barbecue and it's generally like a decent cut, I'll make salt. But like I've got paleo sausages in that came with my half a cow, and they don't need anything. I think they might have some fennel seeds in them or something that the butcher put into them, but it tastes great. But like, you know, and like I made a roast last night, made it yesterday, sorry. And I added garlic cloves into the mixture. So I made up my own stock that I'd had left over from when I made a broth, you know, about a week before. I froze it, used that stock. And then what I did was like, I put the oven dish on the flat stove, put some ghee in there, threw like 5 or 6 garlic cloves in there, then fried up the outside of the roast. And then I poured the stock over the top, and then it just cooked in with the roast. So, but I don't eat the garlic itself, but it just adds that flavor to the roast. But it's not a catalyst for me, you know?
Yeah, I don't have a problem with garlic and onion. And look, I don't even have any real problems with any of the herbs and spices. Like I know for some of my clients, like cinnamon tends to be a big trigger for some people, especially for rosacea and things like that. And peppers, and you know, some people have lots of issues with them. Some people don't. I personally don't, but I just noticed that my taste buds changed from the point where I needed it to be able to enjoy it to now I don't need it to enjoy it, and actually it's just another thing that I have to do on days when I don't want to really do extra things to add some of that stuff to it. So
I think for me it's like that thing of like, I guess to me, like making the roast with the garlic and like I got some fresh rosemary out of my mate's mum's garden and put that with it. Like to me it kind of makes it a bit exciting, you know what I mean? It's like, yes, I could eat salt and meat every day. I could. I love it. But for me, it's kind of makes it a bit exciting. It's something different. And if that keeps me on the right track, hell, I'll do it every day, you know? Like, but no, I'm definitely not one of those people who need it.
Yeah, I feel like I use those things for like fancier meals. Like if I'm going to somebody else's house and I've got to bring something, I'll bring like the most tasty, delicious carnivore meal that has like, all of the flavors and herbs and spices in it so that, I'm kind of trying to be the best dish on the table.
You got to sell it too. If people,
I know.
you got to sell it. Like osso buco, I make osso buco, but I also make diced beef. I can use red wine.
Yeah.
So I'll chuck a bit of red wine into it, and then so I made a stew, and I used diced beef, and I used leftover bones that I had. Did that. Chucked I think it was probably like half a cup of red wine, and then it cooked in it for like 4 hours. Like it cooks it out, but the meat comes out. It's delicious. It's not going to kill you. Some people, but like, it comes back to that same thing. Like everyone knows how it affects them. Some people, like you look at Michaela Peterson. There's a classic example of someone who cannot veer. Her autoimmune conditions are so severe. I'm lucky. I'm pretty much, if it doesn't give me heartburn, it's good to go.
Yeah. And I think that that's the key element there as well, is that it really is independent in the sense that we're all going to have different things that bring us to carnivore. We're always going to have a history prior to carnivore as well that's going to create where we are. And one of the things I love about Michaela Peterson is she says, this is not my intention to stay this way forever. I would love to have more food in, but I also love being healthy and well and not having mental illness and not having chronic pain all of the time. And so I am more happy to stay here. And she started to stretch out a little bit, which is really great to see her being able to expand a little bit, which gives us that reassurance as well that some of her body's actually healing, and her autoimmune conditions are actually healing as well, where she can start to just bring in a few bits and pieces, not tons, but like she is able to now. She was talking about green tea the other day, where she was able to have, every so often a green tea, which is, a luxury when you can't have anything else.
Well, that's right. Yeah. Another huge one is like behavioral issues in kids. Like you hear about parents and their kids run right, but like for a while I had a break from the army. I think it was like 2010. I got out and had a break, and I was working in a supplement store, and I was just learning about supplementation and things like that while I was doing my personal training course. And I started to learn about Omega and things like that. And I had like parents coming in like, oh, I got this kid, he can't sit still, he's mad, I can't calm him down. And I was like, I'd been to a few conferences where they talk about, deficiency thing. I go, I'll give omega-3 a go. And I was giving like, you'd be surprised how many parents were coming in asking that question, like, hey, I need something for my kid to calm down. And like, I was just saying, here, try this Blackmore's omega-3. It's strong in DHA. It's really good, but I can't promise anything. But look, anecdotally, it gets good results. And one woman came back and literally hugged me, came back to the store and said, my kid is a different kid. And that was just giving him some bloody omega-3. Like, what does that tell you? How many people out there are living a dysfunctional life because they're missing components that we should be getting naturally by eating what nature intended?
And that, for me, like one of my frustrations is that a lot of these parents are not getting good quality education from their practitioners because they don't know the information. Like, if you've got a kid that's on any of the alphabet letters or on end spectrum, they generally are somebody that has what's called a brewer's stomach. So if you give them fruit, or if you give them honey or high fructose corn syrup, anything that's got glucose in it, they'll turn a percentage of that into alcohol in their brain. So their body's going to be turning that into alcohol. And I say this to my parents. Imagine that I've given you cereal for breakfast with like garbage milk on it and then sugar on top of that. And you turn a percentage of that into alcohol. I've basically given your kid a glass of wine, sent them to school and said, go learn, behave and be functional. Like, I wouldn't expect that to be the reality for a child that I literally gave a glass of wine to. But that's how many of those children are being set up for the day, is basically being handed a glass of wine with their cereals and Oreos for breakfast, lunch and dinner.
Yeah, 100%. And like when you explain it to people like that, but you explain it in a way of like, look at the human condition itself. Like for me, I'm from European. I was born in England, and all my family are European, whether it be, across the way or not, or in the United Kingdom. But during the winter months, all we had was meat and nuts.
Mm.
That's all we had. Well, like, we didn't have fruits and vegetables, or we had some ground vegetables and things like that. But majority of our diet was meat. We generally spent most of winter in ketosis, which meant our bodies had the ability to, go into cell apoptosis. We were killing off all these old bad cells. We were getting natural longevity just through living as nature intended, and then you look at equatorial countries and places like those hot climates and things like that. And then you look at like people who are dark skinned, and they can eat way more fruit than us without, gaining weight. And it's the same as like you look at in Asian cultures, they can stay very healthy and eat lots of rice, but they've been eating it for so long that they're genetically adapted to it. We're not adapted to live on Fruit Loops and Oreos and all these things. Our biology doesn't permit it. And we certainly should not spend all year metabolizing glucose. It's how we're getting all these cancers, because our bodies never get a chance to recuperate and rebuild, and then take away people's, you have a look at people's diets when they're eating a SAD diet, they're not getting much protein at all. So even when they're getting the small chance to try and rebuild, they don't have enough protein.
Yeah. And like jumping back a little bit to the previous conversation in regards to those kids that are going through those things when it comes to ADHD, et cetera, a lot of that is brain dysfunction. A lot of that is different neurochemicals not actually being produced, made, or utilized properly. They're made from protein. Like serotonin is made from amino acids. Norepinephrine is made from amino acids. All of these things are made from protein. And if you've got a child that is not getting enough good quality protein in their diet, how can they make them?
Well, like even my kids, I've got two daughters, one's 6, one's about to turn 3, and their favorite food is steak, chops, and berries. Now, them, I don't have custody of them. Their mum has custody of them. She feeds them sugary stuff, but their staple are those things: steak, chops, and berries. That's their staples, and yogurt as well. That's their 4 main food groups that they have. And cognitively, they're far superior than a lot of kids in their age bracket. They're learning quicker. I can have conversations with my 3-year-old like I'm talking to a 6, 7-year-old. And it's because they're getting the right fuel to allow them to thrive. And they still eat shit every now and then. They still have cereal, they still do these things, but they're not missing out completely,
So I'm curious, you mentioned family and you've got a partner and you're wanting to build a family. Is your partner on board with carnivore, or like where is that for you in those relationships?
She likes ketogenic, but because she likes keto, it's kind of easy because like if I'm cooking dinner, I'll just put 2 steaks on and she'll have veggies. She'll have some broccoli and some spinach. And she loves the carnivore diet. She likes meat as well. And like she loves, everyone loves meat. I don't care who you are. Like if I put a brisket on the smoker and cook up a brisket and have guests over, there's going to be no one being like, oh, where's the salad? No one gives a shit. People don't come to the house and say, oh, the pear Waldorf salad was the real hit. No, it was the fucking brisket or the roast or the steaks. Like,
I love it.
Even plant-based people, they come to your house and you cook steak or you cook meat and they get that smell. You can see it on their face. You can see it. They fucking eat some broccoli instead. No way. Who goes to sleep and dreams about a whole plate of asparagus for dinner? No one.
I was thinking about that in particular, like when I was going through my process of thinking through carnivore, like, the logical spaces of it and actually just tapping into what I thought and felt about doing it. And I'm like, when I go to a restaurant, I don't sit there and go, ooh, the carrots look nice on that dish. I go, what's the main protein that I actually want to have?
Exactly.
And then I pick the least offensive vegetables to go with it.
Yeah. Or unless it's duck fat potatoes. Oh, I'm a sucker for duck fat potatoes. If they're on the menu, I'm eating them. I'm cheating.
Yeah.
But like, again, it's potato and it's duck fat. Yeah. Like, it's still a good compromise. it's not like I'm eating like macaroni and cheese, you know? So,
Yeah.
no, I think probably like root vegetables are probably the one thing that I'm pretty easy about. Like not French fries, but like I would eat mashed potato maybe once every 3 months
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
butter, you know, and like I don't care. Like I don't care. It's not going to kill me. I'm still functioning at a higher resonance than most people. You know, like I can watch since I've been doing carnivore and like eating meat based and, you know, doing intermittent fasting and coupling those things together. Like I'll read something in a book and I don't forget it. I can almost, you know, repeat it word for word. My cognitive ability is increased like drastically. So,
Mm-hmm.
you know, like I said, I do it because it works, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And I just want to point out as well for those at home that it all depends on what you're coming to things like carnivore with. Like for me, I'm reversing diabetes. So if I eat those potatoes, it's like, I know that's a whole week I've just lost, and those potatoes aren't worth it for me.
Well, that way, just out of, because that's interesting. You said, does that mean, will your insulin be dysregulated or will it be your mind?
My blood glucose will go from normal range into like, it'll take a week to get that back into balance.
Like a week of carnivore to get it back?
To a week of carnivore, if not 2. So for example, I went to a friend's house, a beautiful friend, and she made me a lemongrass tea, and I thought it was just going to be lemongrass, and then I saw her squeeze some lime into it, and I was like, oh yeah, that'll be really nice. I didn't see her put the teaspoon of honey in it. I thought it was just hot water, lemongrass, and a squeeze of lime. It wasn't until I got to the end of the cup that I saw like a little globule of honey, and I was like, oh shit. Because the moment I saw that, I knew that would take me a week to get back on track, to get my blood glucose back into a stabilized balance from that. And 3 days in, I was like, that's it. I'm doing the sardine fast. And I did a 24-hour sardine fast, and that got my blood glucose back into balance. And then a couple of days later, I went, you know what? I think I can do a 3-day sardine fast.
Yeah.
And I did. And that was my best ever scores when it came to blood glucose down, ketones up, GKI score, really, really good.
It's PKD,
And so,
PKD, that's the healing state, you know? Healing. Yeah. That's why, like, if you watch Cole Robinson, he's the snake diet guy. He swears and shit a lot. He's full blown. Like most people, they watch him and he can be a hard pill to swallow for some, but he talks about it. Like he talks about like getting 350 pound people back to like, you know, I don't know, like 100 pounds stuff. Now he basically says to everyone, if you want to heal, you got to fast yourself lean. You got to fast yourself until you see your abs. And then when you've got abs, then you're ready to start, you know, living that, I guess, paleo life, or you know, having carnivore with the odd break. Like you were saying that you have a teaspoon of honey and it puts you in a huge spiral. In his experience and the people he worked with and the people he's, I guess, hit the hard reset on, he was getting them back to lean. And then once they were completely lean again, it stopped that from reverberating back through again. So you could go off once a week or something, go back to carnivore, and then not have the issues, you know? So I think it's that thing of like, I always try and look at it, especially when I talk to people who are interested in the carnivore diet, is treat it like, don't be so dogmatic about it. Like I would say when you're first starting, go as hard as you can. Carnivore, strict carnivore, don't stop. If you have a relapse, get back on. But as long as every day you're doing better than the day before and you're continually improving, don't be so hard on yourself. Because I think sometimes people, when I stuff up, I feel a bit guilty sometimes, but I've stopped doing that now. If I stuff up now, I'm like, you know what? You stuffed up, sort it out tomorrow, move on, get back into it. The more you punish yourself, I think it puts us back further, to be honest. I think we get so down on ourselves, like we've failed ourselves, when all we really need to do is be like, you know what? This sucks. I feel like shit. Back on carnivore tomorrow. And that's the reward in itself, you know? Like if someone goes 60 days carnivore, they eat a piece of cake and then they spend a week eating shit again before they're back on carnivore, like I would say, that sucks. You're not doing a good job. No, bullshit. You just did 6 months carnivore, 1 week or 2 weeks fail, go back to carnivore and do another 6 months. You're already going to be 12 months better off in 14 months time, you know?
Yeah.
And like how long, how old were you when you hit carnivore, out of interest?
So what am I now? 30, oh God, no brain. 43, 42 was when I started.
So you spent 42 years of your life eating the SAD diet, correct?
No,
No?
but quite a lot of it. So for 30 odd years, the SAD diet, 100%. And then the last 10 years, it was, GAPS, so gut and psychology syndrome, paleo, different types of things, HCG, all of that type of stuff, until I finally went, no, I've got to go carnivore, because that's what I would tell one of my patients to do. So I should eat my own words and
exactly
do that.
So you think, like, even you now, like you were saying, you had that 1 teaspoon of honey and it throws you out. That's because for 30 years of your life, you've been dysfunctional. And it's the same as me. Like I ate dysfunctionally, but I was lucky. My job was in the military. I'm carrying packs on my back all day. I'm living on ration packs, or I'm out in the bush not eating, eating like super low calories while I'm walking around humping 40 kilos on my back. You don't get fat. So, but it doesn't mean that all what's going on inside me wasn't going good. I used to drink so much piss. So my liver is still, I can tell now, my liver, my digestive enzymes, my kidneys, it's still healing, even though I stayed fit and strong all those years, my organs are still healing now. And I can feel it. I can feel it when I drink too much water. I can feel my kidneys sting, and I'm like, whoa, like I need to add some salt or stuff like that. Or my liver, fatty liver. If I had fatty liver for so long, but it wasn't diagnosed because I was fit and strong, but it was there. It was drinking alcohol and eating shit food. Like you can hide it on the outside, but you can't hide it on the inside.
And I would say what you're saying here is very common for a lot of men that I will actually see. So, for example, they've been very active during their teenage years, early 20s, even into their 30s. They've been playing, sports and football and different types of activities. And then something happens. So they either have a baby or they have an injury or something happens. And then all of the stuff that was keeping them looking lean, the exercise and that stops because of whatever's changed in their life. But the food doesn't. The food stays the same. And then that's when it all starts to show up on their bodies as to what's actually coming along underneath.
100%.
And so what you just mentioned there was, classically what I will see for a lot of men that come in my door. Well, it's usually women that are dragging them by the ear. Come in. But there was a couple of things that you mentioned there, and I just want to come back to them. One of which was the fasting until you're lean thing. And I want to say, just for the audience at home, that for me, men can do that much more simply than females can do that. And diabetics can't do that as much as well, because they have this insulin resistance. And until you get the ketones happening, the insulin is like this tap that stays stuck on, and it's really hard to get off. And that's where some of the eating style fasts can be really beneficial at actually helping with that, which is why the sardine fast works really well.
PKD, sardine fast.
I wish,
he had.
I wish some other ones would too. Butter fast works really well, by the way, too.
Really? I'd imagine it would. Down. You can even Cole Robinson. He had like his female clients eating spam. Corned beef in a tin. He had them eating spam, 1 tin of spam a day. Some of them were absolutely shredded. Like they were thriving on that. Like it's crazy what the human body is capable of when it's getting what it needs, and that's fats, proteins. Like that's what we need.
Exactly.
What is it like? Vanilla Ice always says, anything less than the best is a felony.
I love it. So I'm curious, like, you've mentioned Instagram. You're on Instagram. Do you want to give us a plug of like where people can come and find you and check out your channel?
Yep. So my Instagram is meat-based monster with an underscore between each one. So meat_based_monster. And I just basically post what I'm doing, whether it be workouts, whether it be if I'm doing some fasting, and I'll post pictures of food and stuff, carnivore diet stuff I prepare as well. So
the other thing you mentioned was that you've done a personal training course. Is that what you do now? Do you take on clients?
No, I'm fully retired now. So I'm on a military pension. So I don't do clients. I normally just help people out for free because I got so much time on my hand. I sometimes will help people with meal plans. Normally it's just random guys message me on Instagram and be like, hey, dude, I've been considering carnivore. How should I start? And then I'll just have a quick look at them. If they're a bigger fella, I'll push them more to like a higher fat, medium to low protein. If it's a more skinnier guy, I'll just say, go nuts, mate. Eat as much meat as you want until you feel full. So it's very simple. And then every now and then I'll get a message like, hey man, can I eat sausages? And I'll be like, where'd you get them from? You know, got it from the butcher. Yeah, mate, they're not going to hurt you.
So from that point of view, what would be your top tips for somebody who wants to start carnivore? They've watched this and they've gone, you know what? He's making a lot of sense to me. I think I want to give it a go. What would be your top tips?
I would say first things first, if you're coming from SAD diet, I would start by intermittent fasting and have and try and go like a paleo style. So I'd start with like paleo intermittent fasting, maybe like a 16 and 8. And then if you know, and you'll have to have a slow transition or just make it easier. If you've got super strong willpower and you're one of those get out there and go get it, just go nuts, go to the butcher, buy what you like. But if you like pork chops, buy pork chops. If you love cooking a roast, buy a lamb roast. Like just, if you follow your taste buds and eat what you enjoy, you can't fail. You know, it's like that thing. It's like no one wants to sit there and eat a bowl of salad. It's not fun. But if I get a guest come over and I cook up some sweet lamb loin chops, fatty, crispy, tender on the inside with a little bit of marrow on the end, everyone loves that stuff, you know? So like pick what's delicious, eat it. And then if you start to feel like that you'll like need something else, eat a piece of fruit and then do it again and just keep doing it and keep going back to carnivore. And I always say, don't work in days and weeks, work in a year. It's like, I've got 12 months of eating and I want at least 10 to 11 months to be strict carnivore. Mm-hmm. And then that way you're not setting unrealistic goals. Like you look at the carnivore community and most people will say, oh, I haven't eaten anything but steak in 3 years. That's bullshit. It's a load of shit. It's not real. Everyone slips. I don't care who you are. It might be once, it might be whatever. And some of them don't slip, but they still eat things like cottage cheese or butter or dairy and things like that. So, you know, look into that as well. I drink raw milk. I love it. I love full cream raw milk. I drink so much of it, but it doesn't have any net negative impact on me. So you've got to listen to your own body really. And same thing, like if a girl comes to me and asks me how to do carnivore, generally I'll point her into the direction of one of the girl carnivores because I don't know how it works around their hormones. So, you know, some girls I meet and I say, you know, have you done fasting? And they can fast and they can eat carnivore, but most of them tend to struggle around their cycles. I don't get a cycle.
Well, some of them will also have things like thyroid conditions. So one of the things that I usually find that I have to get female patients to do is start eating breakfast. Like, I don't care if you eat for the rest of the day, just eat breakfast. If you don't eat anything else for the rest of the day, no worries, but eat breakfast.
Yeah.
And then they'll find that eventually they get hungry because a lot of them have been really under eating for chronic amounts of time, which has made their thyroid super slow. So you get them eating again, everything picks up, their metabolism picks up, and then they can start to do some of that intermittent fasting a little bit better.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, look, I love intermittent fasting, but yeah, just, I guess it all starts with, you know, just diving into it and see how it goes. Yeah. Listen to your body, listen to the community. The community is huge. If you've got questions, like you can go to it's easy enough. Like you go to mine or your page and like, I don't know how many followers you got up. I think I'm getting close to 1,500. There's plenty of other carnivores out there. I get so many ideas just looking on other people's pages. They'll post something and I'll be like, man, that looks delicious. I'll shoot them an inbox and be like, hey man, how did you cook that? Or hey chickie, how did you make that? And they'll like send me a message and I'll be like, sweet. So like the community out there is more than willing to help. So, you know, you're not alone. It's a good community.
Yeah. I've really found, well, I have found occasional like carnivore police people, and I'm like, there's police people in every sort of dietary protocol that you're in.
True.
Skip, move on, but go to the real people that, you know, like you said, I'm coming up to my 12 months next month, and I keep seeing all these people who've just crossed their 12 months of carnivore sort of line, and they go, all I ate for 12 months was meat. And I'm like, that's kind of not the truth. And I'm thinking about like my video that I'm going to put out at 12 months, and it won't be, I just ate meat for 12 months, because no, I had cake at my brother's wedding. I had a birthday cake at one of my kids' birthdays. I had pavlova at Christmas. Like, you know, I've had things. Plus, I eat dairy. So, you know, that's not meat. That's animal product, but it's not meat. I'm just like,
that's right.
You know, there's always going to be some carnivore police out there, but majority of the community is actually really nice and really, really welcoming and happy to help you.
Exactly.
Good. All right. Thank you so much for coming to join us. Is there anything you want to say in closing for the audience at home?
No, it's been a pleasure to come on. It's nice to talk to you and get to see you face to face, and good luck with the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you.
And for anyone out there who is thinking about giving it a go, just do it. Dive in head first, give it a go.
Yeah, awesome. And for me, the whole point of the podcast is to have real conversations with real people, not to, you know, make all these rules and things like that you have to do. Real conversations, it's real life. Like, we're all journeying together on getting to better health. And, you know, somebody might know something you don't know. Somebody might have a technique of cooking something that you don't know that could be a game changer for you. So yeah, 100%. Thank you for coming and sharing.
That's all good. Thanks very much.
You're welcome. Enjoy the rest of your night. Yeah. It's getting dark on your end.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I should have turned on the lights. Getting dark early over this side of Australia.
Yeah. All right. Bye for now, and I will talk to you again soon. See you
later. See you, mate. Have a good one.
Bye.